Welcome to practice. Today we're working on building up to headstand, which means we're going to develop the upper body to support us in inverted postures, lots of shoulder, lots of chest, and then some of the whole body core integration. And of course, the goal is always to move from a place of happiness instead of towards it, which is perfect for headstand because I don't know about you, but when it comes to inversions, sometimes we can get a little bit too goal-oriented, feeling like if we don't achieve something, then we can no longer be happy. Let's scrap all of that. Let's be happy right now. Let's move forward with clear mind and clear intention and have fun and see what happens. When you're ready, let's get started in a child's pose. Orient yourself on the mat so you can take the big toes together behind you. Knees splay out a little bit wider. And before you actually walk the upper body down, ensure that the legs are drawing evenly out from the midline so everything feels pretty center and pretty equal right away. Then start to walk the hands forward, the upper body down, and eventually the forehead to the ground. Starting to train the arms in this arm overhead position. Press your palms flat down and forward so that your arm bones lift away from the floor and all of the connective tissue on the arm bones hugs into the bones to support them. Use your hands to actually press your tailbone closer to your heels and get more space in your spine. Soften your face. And as you take full deep body breaths here, it's as if you could fill up and never stop. You could never reach a boundary. You can just keep going, keep filling all the way up. And same thing on the way out. When you're ready, let's come up through tabletop position. Settle the knees right underneath the hips, the wrists right underneath the shoulders, belly's lifting up to the spine, rippling out through the skull. Take a nice big breath in here. And on your exhale, push into your hands, slide your hips back towards your heels for a modified child's pose. Inhale, lift the hips, come forward, table. And exhale back. Let's do this 3 more times. After your last time up through tabletop position, we can tuck the toes underneath, root down through your fingers more than your wrists. Hover the knees and then lift up and back to downward facing dog pose. Nice and soft and still here. Notice if your facial muscles start to grab on or anything like that. Let everything widen and soften. And as we breathe here, fill your entire body with your attention, as if you could even send your attention beyond your skin to all the little air that surrounds your body. And so that the boundary of the body starts to become a little bit blurry. See if not, does all of our agenda drop here? All of our belief systems of, I can only be happy if so-and-so happens, or something like that. Now it's really a yogi's choice here. We'll take the feet forward behind the hands. And so you decide, do you want to take your time walking the feet forward one little moment at a time? Do you want to hop forward? Do you even want to walk the hands back to the feet? But let's meet each in our own time in a standing forward fold pose. So feet underneath the hips, I like them a little bit wider at first as we're warming up for the practice. And in our standing forward fold pose, please feel free to bend the knees. Please feel free to put your hands on support for something if the floor is really far away from you. You can even push a wall away. And the legs can be configured in any sort of which way, bent, straight, all of the good stuff, as we then take each our halfway lift. And so we're building that away from the floor. We'll each be at a different height and space as the belly ripples up to the spine and out through the skull. We use the legs, the power of the legs, to ground all the way through the pelvis. Another full breath in, stretch forward through the crown of the head. And on the exhale, fold. This time, inhale. Ground down through your feet, reach out and up to the sky. Breathe in, look up. And exhale, hands down at the heart. Inhale, reach the arms all the way up to the sky. And exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, ground the hands, and we'll step the feet back one at a time to downward facing dog pose. Let's bend the knees here and look forward. In breath, out breath, lift the hips, roll forward to plank. Soft face, soft jaw, fill your entire body with your attention. You don't have to be still here. You can rock a little bit. You can get your pelvis situated so it's nice and neutral, supportive. For this first one, so that we can really articulate what's supposed to happen in the shoulders, take our knees down to the floor, lean the pelvis a little bit farther forward, but catch it with the belly muscles. Belly muscles lift and wave out through the skull. Big breath in. Exhale, elbows point straight back. Lower the heart to the height of the pelvis, and then relax the body to the floor. So we'll start to open the upper body now so that we have that point of access when we start to move towards headstand, which we don't actually have to do today. So take your legs straight out behind you, neutral rotation here. Pelvis is neutral. Sometimes when I get down here, I get like a little booty pike. So we take the tailbone to the backs of the heels, and we're gonna go up to baby cobra. So inhale, little to no weight in the hands. You know, they can be out, they can be in. And then exhale to lower the chest back down to the floor. Inhale up, and exhale down. And let's each go in our own timing, seeing if we can't stabilize the entire lower body. So what we're really doing is giving freedom to the upper body, the upper spine to move forward into the chest. And the next time that you come up right and lifted, now take your hands long by your body, pinkies face the sky, so you can use the arms to reach back, and that'll lift the chest up. But at the same time, reach the crown of your head forward and stay here, or lift and hover the legs. Keep the tailbone going to the backs of the knees so that we're really using the hamstring attachment right where the thigh meets the buttocks to lift the legs. Okay, now let's lower, ground the pinky toe, take the hands underneath the elbows by the sideways, then we'll come up through a transitional back bend. So cobra, upward facing dog, whatever feels right. And then exhale, belly to spine, pelvis back in space, downward facing dog. We'll work through a couple of sun salutations here. First, to warm up the entire body, to integrate it so that it's all kind of working as a cooperative unit. And then also to strengthen the upper body to support us going upside down. So let's start this all with a big breath in to prepare to come forward. And then on your exhale, however you want to do that, stepping forward, hopping forward, or again, walking your hands back to the feet. Your next in-breath, halfway lift, reach the heart out of the pose, and then exhale, fold. Ground through your feet. Inhale, reach out and up to the sky. Exhale, hands together at the chest. Inhale, reach the arms out and up. And exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, hands down. Step the feet back, downward facing dog. Next inhale breath, bend the knees, look forward. Exhale, lift the hips high, roll through to high plank. We'll pause here. We'll work on our side plank here. So let's ground through the right hand only. We'll offer the left arm to the sky as we turn the body open. It can be pretty casual here. It doesn't have to be anything really crazy. You can leave the feet stacked one in front of the other. You can put one knee down or anything to feel supportive. But we want to feel the shoulder, the right shoulder supporting us. So push out through that hand. Get lots of space from the shoulder to the ear. Okay, left hand down. And we'll go right to the other side. So coming onto the left foot, offer the right hand or the right side of the body to the sky. Roll from that left armpit. Okay, take that right hand down to the floor. In breath, you can always drop down to the knees here. And X breath, chaturanga down. Soften down here. You can always relax. You can always breathe out through the mouth. And so ensuring that our challenge, whatever the stringent moments in our practice is, doesn't have the ability to knock us out from that place of happiness, because that's always where we're moving from. So taking the elbows down now, right underneath the shoulders, parallel the forearms. So we're in Sphinx. And we're going to turn on that low core. So on the inhale breath, we're right here. And on the exhale breath, we're going to curl the front body in, kind of like angry cat pose. Your pelvis will roll off the ground even. Inhale, set the pelvis down, stretch forward through the baby back bend. And exhale, curl in. Inhale, lower down, stretch forward. Exhale, curl in. Inhale, lower down, stretch forward. Exhale, curl in. Pause here, or tuck the toes, hover the knees, forearm plank. Okay, knees drop down one at a time. Bring them under the body. And come up to high kneel position. So knees now right underneath the hips. Front of the pelvis draws into the body. So we kind of flatten out the underwear crease on the front side of the body. So we're getting... Now imagine you're kind of already in headstand here, just if you were to put your hands behind your head. And so we're trying to find a united line of energy from the knees all the way up. So it feels like everything's communicating, everything's part of the same team. And then from here, just a baby camel pose to open the upper body. Nothing dramatic with the lower body. We're not even reaching down for the heels necessarily. We're just taking a little bit of openness. Okay, we're gonna come back. We'll come back down to a seat on the heels. And here's where we'll start to build into the shoulder strength that will help us with headstand. So it all starts from a seed pose, dolphin. And so our first dolphin pose, let's take the elbows down underneath the shoulders. And let's take the hands actually out just a tad bit wider, okay? So, because what the tendency is like, your tendency is going to be wanting to take the elbows out really wide and have the hands more in. That's just how the bones of the upper body kind of want to work, but that's not necessarily how we want to train them. We want to train them the opposite way. And so instead, us doing this, we'll take the elbows actually a little bit more in and the hands a little bit more out, if that makes sense. So let's do that. Let's take the elbows just slightly closer than shoulder width distance, because the tendency will be that they move out, so they'll move out into the right place. And then the hands are just a little bit outside as well. Now we want to stretch through the skin of the forearms so that everything gets nice and long here. Root evenly through the inner and outer wrist, inner and outer palm. Tuck the toes under, and then lift the knees off the floor for dolphin pose. So you can have your legs super bent here, especially if you're tighter in the hamstrings. Keep rooting down through those forearms so that you're lengthening the triceps. You're lengthening the elbows away from the shoulders. You're getting long through the upper arm bones. And that's really what the headstand is all about. It's about the push so that we're getting out of the shoulder joint, and we're actually, once we get the head on the ground, we'll get the weight out of the head as well. Soften down to the knees when you're ready. Out of the pose. That's a big pose. Okay. From here, headstand is going to be kind of the spectrum. And so we'll start working towards that. We'll work with dolphin and we'll move it forward. So if you're thinking that, hey, I might dabble with taking my feet off the ground today, you're more than welcome to move your mat towards the wall and work a few inches away from the wall, just to kind of combat any fear that arises. You're also welcome to just do this in the middle of the room. So again, the goal is not to get the feet off the floor, it's to train the upper body and to train the mind. So we're gonna go again. We're gonna take the elbows down, and this time what we're gonna do is we're gonna take the elbows down right where they were, a little bit closer than shoulder width distance apart, because we know the tendency is gonna be for them to go out. Interlock the hands. I like to tuck one pinky inside so I have a nice flat base of support from wrist to wrist. And so here it is. This is our new dolphin hand position. We want to train this a little bit, and we'll see, we'll experiment with putting the head down into this little crook space here. So take the shoulders over the elbows, ground down. You're kind of in a little table, and then you tuck the toes and lift the knees high, dolphin pose, round two. Now, we keep also hugging the elbows together here. So it's a hug together and a push down, which gets you nice and lifted. Can even help lift the hips away from the shoulders as well. Now we're going to see if we can walk the feet in. And again, if you're tighter in the hamstrings, your booty's going to start to curl down. It's not going to feel so great. So hamstring opening and hamstring development is a big part of getting into headstands. Not so much the pose itself, but getting into it. That's why sun salutations and other hamstring stretches can be really positive for that. So as you begin to walk yourself in, we'll see, can we get to the point where you can actually take the head right into the crook of the hands without any weight on it? We're not trying to do anything else here. Just feel your experience. Experience whatever it is. Press down through the forearms and see, can you get a little bit of lift in the head? Even like, you can kind of shake it a little bit. Okay, relax. So in this relaxation, let's actually stretch a little bit. So we're gonna take the tricep stretches. If you take your right hand to your upper back, and so your upper arms by your head, take your left hand, hug it in close, take the elbow tip back in space, you might feel that tricep start to trigger. Notice if you take your body out of alignment to get that to happen, and then bring your spine back to neutral. Other side. So a lot of this is just training dolphin pose, training the duration, the length of time that we're able to stay in it so that the shoulders are feeling really compatible. That's really what it is. You don't want to get into a headstand and feel like, oh my gosh, I can't support this. You want to get into a headstand and arrive there fully supported already. So that's why we're saying this is a progression. We don't need to go any farther than is wise to go. Now, let's keep working. We work with the dolphin and then we see where else. Elbows down, thread the fingers. We get our nice base of support, and you can take as much time as you need setting it up. Maybe you even just work with the setup here just to train the shoulders. Tuck the toes, lift the knees, dolphin. So before we walk the feet too far in or we put the head down, we arrive at the shoulder work. We push, we elongate, we squeeze the elbows in. A little bit at a time. If you walk yourself in, you can maybe start to take the head down in between the hands, and again, push. So once you take the head down, you recruit that same work again, and then walk your feet in and lift up onto the tiptoes. When you do that, maybe you can pull one foot into the bottom, and maybe you can actually just hover the other toes off the ground, just kind of circle them around. You can pull into a headstand tuck, heels to bottom. And in the headstand tuck, you're working the vertical line of energy from the skull out through the pelvis. And you're ready to come down. You come down. You take a child's pose, you take something else that feels good. And if you're working with the wall, that's why you have the wall there. So you can play with, what does it feel like to pick those feet up? Where do I lose balance? Where do I not have that control? And so that's really what a lot of this stuff is. It's building in those gaps. Okay, we're gonna take this one more time. We're gonna try it again. We can go into our headstand tuck position. By the way, that's actually a little bit harder than headstand itself. So if you're working on that, congratulations. And I actually train almost always with headstand tuck before I go into actual headstand itself. So that's where we're gonna go in this next one, and I'll guide us through a few more progressions in case you're already along that line. So let's set up the arms. And come up to dolphin. We take our time here to walk the feet in, to lower the head. If you lifted up last time, lift up on the other foot. And if you want more from headstand tuck, we're not straightening the legs, but we'll take the knees to stack over the hips, and we'll keep the heels glued towards the bottom. So now you're working the vertical line from the knees all the way down to the head. And you come out. And take a rest. And we'll come up to a seat so that we can kind of just rest and check ourselves out together and then get on with our day. A really great way to condition the upper body. We can take some shoulder stretches here. If you goalpost the arms a little bit, stretch out the neck. Can even take some shoulder circles. What can even feel good from there is just some kind of organic spinal movement. So if from a seated position, you can circle the spine. Both directions. And so headstand is a very energizing pose. It's designed to be that way. Also really great for our lymphatic system, our drainage system. Also really great for the elasticity of all of the parts of our body, all of our organs, tilting the body upside down. So a great pose to practice. But the part of it being energizing is such that this next bit, Shavasana, as we normally call it, I'll leave that up to you. Whether you want to lie down on the ground, if you're at a wall, you can do legs up the wall, or you can just sit supported with your back against a wall. Or really any number of poses, but we will take it together. I'll take it in a comfortable seat because I know that I'm about to go do some more energizing stuff after this. So quietly come to a place where you can be still, you can close your eyes. You can take a full big breath in and let it get really slow near the end to the point where it just kind of fades into a pause. And then you can exhale, release. Same thing, breathe in. And out. In these next few moments, see if you can't just let the body breathe on its own. See if you can't let the walls of your skin fade into the surrounding air. And so that, what if I could experience my body not as just this singular form, but actually as part of a bigger system, part of the entire cosmos. And so what if this sense of I am wasn't just limited to my body, but could spread across all time and all space and encapsulate all things? And that's the level of understanding, that's the level of happiness that we approach the rest of our day with. Thanks so much for joining in our practice today. I'll see you here next time on the yoga mat. And remember, there's lots of places for you to get closer to us. We have weekly letters every week that we'd love you to sign up for, and see us on social media. Have a wonderful day.